This is the Global Broadcasting Service, serving remote outposts since 1928.
Hi, everyone. Welcome aboard the Walt Disney World Express monorail.
Caramba, we have something really big for you today.
Welcome, foolish mortals.
Now then, hang on to them hats and glasses, because this here's the wildest ride in the wilderness.
This is the DBC pod with Phil Schoen and Jason Dodge. Oh, hi friends. Welcome to this week's pod, and it appears that the screen is all screwed up on the transition. Hold on a second, let me fix that. There we go, it is fixed. This is the show for the week of February 24th, 2025. Phil, we've got a very long show today. We got construction updates, right? We got virtual queues now gone. We're going to talk about that, different strategies. We've got Villain's Dark Ride information, apparently, on a DBC engagement question.
Right.
We did have a Rankum game planned, but we're not going to do that because I think there's one other thing that we need to talk about this week, which is your trip report. Fresh back from Disney World. So, Phil, how you doing? Are you well rested? Are you ready for this week's show?
Yeah, I'm well rested. I have caught up on sleep and that sort of thing. That is with the down and backs. They are short, but they're busy and that sort of thing. So do need to catch up on the rest. But yeah, so I was joking that the trip report might take longer than the actual trip did, but we'll see how we do.
Yeah, great. I just realized what happened with my scene transfer in OBS. I still had the macro go towards the guest with 3 people, which was Drew, which was our last show when he was on the show.
Gotcha.
I want to shout out to 7th Ton on Discord. If you are watching right now, you notice that I have a new microphone, and it's about 1/3 the price of the other microphone I bought. Apparently, I bought a very good microphone for like singing and like actually doing like recitation. Like it was a good microphone, but you have to be very close. But a lot of people have been complaining. I've been complaining to myself that every time I looked away or anything else, my voice kind of went away for a little bit. That being said, because it's a new mic, you might hear some background noise. Everybody's asleep in my house. I've got doors closed, but you might hear my keyboard. So I apologize for that ahead of time. Also want to record, welcome our newest member to Discord. I believe it's Ali771 or ALII771. Thanks for joining. We really appreciate it. And we got a new member in chat, Chris. So hello, Chris. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, for those not on chat right now, it's Chris Ninez, who is one of the directors of the Goofy movie documentary that I saw back at the at the D23 event, and he just wanted to. He saw, I guess, our review of it and appreciated the kind words and wanted to stop in. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, welcome, thank you, I appreciate that. Yeah. Okay, so Phil, where are we going to start? We're going to do some like quick hits. I think we're going to do some housekeeping, and it's not stuff that we could go through quickly. When I say that the show shouldn't take too long, this one show might go long, so I'm kind of scared when I say the show might go long if it's going to be 2 hours or 3 hours. But I think we're going to do a good job here. What's the first rumor thing that you want to talk about?
Yeah, so this one's a rumor, although by the time you listen to this podcast, it might actually have already been gone into effect. But there's some strong rumors, including from Lentesta, that Disney is going to be switching to a dynamic ticket model for the park tickets. Basically, what this would mean is that, similar to how airlines work and things like that, that there would be a starting price for a given date. So let's say on January 1st, and you're looking to book tickets for August, it would say, okay, this ticket is $140 or whatever for Magic Kingdom. If you check that 2 months later in March for that same August date, it could be $160 or it could be $120 or something like that. Basically, as time goes on and they determine whether the capacity is more or less than they were expecting, the pricing will change accordingly. So the idea is that if it turns out to be more popular than they thought it would be, the pricing will go up to sort of discourage people from going that date and maybe trying to go to a different date. We don't know the specific details of it. I'm hoping, and this is, kind of one of the questions I had was like the predictions for how we think it'll really work. I'm hoping it's more like how cruises work, where it sort of starts at like the low point so that you're rewarded for buying early. And then if it turns out to be more popular, it'll start going up in price. But at least you know that if you get in early, you're getting in it at a good price. I hope it's not going to be like where you have to play games and check on Tuesdays it's cheaper, and then you have to use an incognito window so that it doesn't know you checked the price 3 times and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, it gets a little crazy with airlines. I hope it's not that much of a game, but we shall see. So we wanted to get it out there. If it goes into effect and when, we'll obviously get into a lot more details with it. But if you have a trip coming up and haven't gotten your tickets yet, you might want to be prepared to buy your tickets sooner rather than later. And as a reminder too, once they go into effect at Disney, usually places like Undercover Tourist and stuff like that have a batch of tickets like they haven't used up yet. So there's a little bit of time you can get them at kind of the old pricing. But yeah, just be prepared if you need to get tickets sooner rather than later.
So yeah, I mean, that goes by the rule, buy early, buy often. The only thing that people might get hung up on, and I don't really have any other comments other than this is probably always going to happen anyway, is typically, I don't think it's going to change. It's like when you book tickets and you call up Disney and say, hey, I want to adjust my vacation to a later date. Right now, they'll do that for you, but you have to pay the difference in the tickets, right? I don't think you get money back, but like if it's more expensive, you have to pay the difference. What might happen is if you adjust to what was the same cost, maybe like let's say 2 weeks later, they were all within $1 of each other, but they go up, you might get caught paying the higher price because it's just closer to that vacation. Might be a sleazy thing to do from Disney, but I don't know what to comment until we actually see how it works, I guess, at this point.
Yeah, one thing that I could see as a potential benefit, and one reason Disney might be doing this, is that it would potentially allow them to start pricing a little lower.
Maybe.
To encourage people to get it. And this way they can market it. You know, the whole thing we talked about before about how Disney's come under fire for things being too expensive. This could maybe be a way for them to be like, look, we're putting it out here that if you're willing to commit early, it's actually going to be cheaper for you and more affordable. Now, if you wait till the last minute, it might be more expensive, but we'll have to see.
I don't suspect the tickets get cheaper at all. But then again, you know, Disney has had cheap ticket deals. Like you went last year with cheap ticket deals. Maybe if there's like, you know, like they do like kind of like flash Florida resident ticket deals a lot during the summer that are only for a couple months long. Maybe they might do that to try to get people to have like down and back trips like you just did. I don't know. Like airlines last minute has a lot of last minute deals. Hotels have a lot of last minute deals. Maybe
cruise lines too. Yeah.
Maybe to go in that direction.
I mean, maybe that could be something. Yeah. This week turned out to be less crowded than we thought. Tickets are down 20% or something just to try to get more people in there. We'll have to see. The other news item is that virtual queues at Walt Disney World are gone, at least for now, effective February 25th. So the day this podcast comes out, Tiana's Bayou Adventure and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind will no longer use a virtual queue. So the Lightning Lane rules are sticking by. So Tiana's is still part of Lightning Lane Multipass, and Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is still part of it's a single pass, Lightning Lane single pass. But instead of having to do a virtual queue at 7 a.m. or 1 p.m., you can just stand in line and for however long the wait is. And that is sort of, I think, the big question, especially for Cosmic Rewind, because it's been almost I think this coming May would have been 3 years that it was using the virtual queue system.
That's a long time.
So we have no idea what the demand is going to be for standby, because obviously there's a lot of people want to do re-rides because you can get different songs and stuff like that. So is that going to be, or are a lot of people going to come by and be like, yeah, I was willing to do it when it was a virtual queue, but I'm not waiting an hour and a half, 2 hours or whatever. So we'll have to see. The other big question for this, or did you have some?
No, I'm just going to say I wanted to go over like park strategies and how the things work, but I think that's what you're going towards.
Yeah, so the next thing is sort of strategy around this, especially for people who rope drop, because that's going to be the big thing now, is to get in line early, take advantage of early entry. So a reminder, Tiana's Bayou Adventure is in Frontierland, which is not part of early entry at Magic Kingdom. So you can't get there during early entry. What you could do, though, is because you can get into Fantasyland, is sort of line up at the second rope drop that's sort of near Haunted Mansion or by the Rapunzel bathrooms, so that you can be, when at 9 a.m. or whatever, you can be one of the first people to get into Frontierland to get online for that, but you can't actually ride it during early entry. Guardians of the Galaxy, it is confirmed to be part of early entry. The, I guess, sort of sticky wicket over at Epcot is that there are 2 entrances to the park. So if you are staying at Crescent Lake or on the Skyliner, you would come in at International Gateway, which is at the opposite end of the park from Cosmic Rewind. I have been posting around and talking to as many people as I can, like what's going to be the process. We'll have to see what it actually is. It seems like they are letting people who have early entry get closer to Cosmic Rewind if you're coming from that way. But it still feels like you're probably going to be at a slight disadvantage from people coming into the main entrance to get to Guardians of the Galaxy. And I know Len's done some studies, and they'll be doing some more for touring plans. Yeah. It was basically like it's almost always a bad idea to go halfway, all the way across the park as your first move. On the plus side, it should split up crowds, and it could make doing Remy or Frozen as your early entry rope drop even better if you're coming from international gateways. So you have to kind of strategize a little bit depending on which entrance you'll be using.
Yeah, the Remy was always brutal for early morning. Unless you're like one of the first people in for early entry, like so if early entry was 8:30, like if you got there at like 7:30, 8:45, it was basically a walk on, right? Obviously you're in the front of the line. If you got there like 10 minutes early for early entry, it was brutal. I've been on both sides of that. But because people are going to be at the front of the park, that might alleviate a lot of that stuff. So there's two primo rides. It's one for the family and one for the thrill seekers in the front. So I think that kind of balances things out. And not only that, you probably have a better chance of getting the Test Track and Frozen also, because that's kind of almost in the middle between like the front entry and the rear entry also. So it's going to be interesting to see once Test Track goes live later this year how that works out with the crowds. I think Test Track might draw more people than Guardians of the Galaxy, if you ask me.
Yeah, it'll be a new version of it. Yeah, so I mean that's a good point with Test Track. I mean, obviously we're at least a few months away from that. That's opening this summer or late summer. But once that happens, Epcot goes from having sort of 2 rope drop candidates to 4. 4 really now, right? Cosmic Rewind.
Frozen, right, yep.
Yeah. So that makes it a much more interesting park. Really should spread the crowds.
I see. I don't think Frozen is going to be high of a target because Guardians of the Galaxy is always going to be the prime draw, right? Because in order to skip the line or get a short line for that, you have to pay for it at that point, right? So I think that's going to draw a lot of people. Test Track's going to be brand new, so it's going to draw a lot of people. And Remy is going to draw people because it's the most popular like family ride that's usually selling out the quickest. I think Frozen's going to be the one that's left out because it's an older attraction, right? It's a remade attraction, and I don't know. I just think Remy's is more popular than Frozen when it comes to like selling.
It's also just closer to the entrance, and people like getting breakfast there and stuff like that. So
no, I'm with you. So it's going to be interesting to see what that park flow is. What Disney really needs to do is take the Imagination Pavilion and put something really great in there, so it balances out the park because everything is basically kind of on the east side, and then like kind of where France is on towards the bottom there. So we'll see. I'm looking forward to seeing what Len has to say about it.
Yeah, for sure. A number of Universal quick hits. I know we don't spend usually as much time on Universal, but a lot of news came out the past week or so. Real quick, and we'll kind of just touch on things. If you want to make a comment about something, Jason, let me know. The next phase of Epic Universe ticket sales were announced. Still no single day for non-pass holders, so I will still be waiting for the next thing.
What's the phase?
So they added just more options for Florida residents. They added something where if you had the military tickets, you can add on an Epic Day and things like so. Just other kind of combinations, but it's still like unless you're in one of these groups, it's still just you have to buy the multi-ticket.
I would love to buy a single ticket for my trip in July,
and I want to do the same for August, but we're waiting.
Yeah.
There was also a Universal firework testing over at Epic Universe, and from what I saw, it looked pretty impressive. Also comments where it seemed like most of the fireworks were going off behind the Helios Hotel, but it did look like some was coming from inside the park. So it could be a cool view if you're in Helios, maybe to kind of be around it, surrounded by the fireworks or something like that.
I mean, I saw the fireworks briefly. I mean, like it was like a normal fireworks show, but it seems kind of lame when it's just kind of a hotel is like the the backdrop to it. But I imagine they have to have projections going on in the front.
I assume there's going to be projections. Right? I think they're also supposed to be having like fountain effects with the water in front of it and stuff like that. So we'll have to see, but it's definitely getting close. I don't have the notes in here, but the BioReconstruct had a lot of footage going, and it looked like there's a report of like what testing of the different lands is going on and kind of the order of things. And it hasn't fully been turned over to park ops yet. So it's kind of the worker team members on it. They're still wearing hard hats and stuff.
Right.
But I guess there were some issues with Dark Universe, but they're working on those. Other ones seem to be kind of going as expected. So it's definitely coming along, and we will be, we're only a couple months out. I think it's 80-something days from the park opening. Speaking of Universal Parks, they've also given some more information about the Universal Kids Resort, which will be opening up in Texas, Frisco, Texas in 2026. They announced the different IP that's going to be included in there. I don't know if any of this gets your kids excited or anything like that.
I was just going to ask that question when I saw this list, yeah.
So the list is Shrek, Puss in Boots, SpongeBob, Minions, Jurassic World, Trolls, and Gabby's Dollhouse. I asked my 10-year-old, the first one she jumped out at was Jurassic World. There's like a cartoon Jurassic World that's been on. My kids watch that a lot. So that was the one that kind of they jumped to, although my youngest is kind of a thrill seeker. I think she'd rather ride Velocicoaster than go to this kids park.
Sure.
But I guess we'll have to see. It's an interest. There's been a lot of discourse about this park and saying like, oh, well, if it's only kind of like a regional park, is that going to like negatively impact the Universal brand and stuff like that? But I think it's testing something out. It's got its own market. I don't think they're expecting people really to be traveling to it like you do to Orlando and stuff. But it's good to know. I mean, I'm really interested to see how it works out, how this regional park concept could work out, and if other companies could follow it.
Well, I mean, we'll see. I mean, the only thing that really strikes my mind here is I'm looking like out of the corner of my eye at it is Minions, because my kids love Minions. Shrek, Puss in Boots, SpongeBob. Don't really know those. SpongeBob, my kids know only because of silly memes that they see on YouTube type of thing. And Gabby's Dollhouse is always like as an icon they see it, but I don't think they've ever actually watched a single episode.
I don't know.
We'll see.
We'll see. And then the last Universal thing is that they've released tickets are on sale for the Horror Unleashed, which is the permanent HHN Halloween Horror Nights experience that's in Las Vegas. Tickets it has 4 houses plus kind of, I guess, scare zones and stuff like that. I think it's $69 if you want to do each house once, $99 if you want to do unlimited. It's going to be an interesting concept. Obviously, there's a lot of entertainment competition in Vegas. But I could also see, there's a lot of like conventions and corporate events and stuff. Could you do like a team building thing there and stuff like that? I don't know. Personally, like, I'm not an HHN person. I'm not a Vegas person. This probably is just not for me. But it'll be interesting to see how this does. It's a permanent HHN, so these aren't houses that they have to rebuild every year. This is something they can make more permanent. And I'm interested to see how it goes. It's like, I guess, a couple miles from the Strip, so quick Uber over or whatever. But I don't know. What are your thoughts? Is this something that like you would go to, or? I
mean, if I was in Vegas, but I want to do Universal Halloween Horror Nights in Orlando. My kids aren't old enough for it at this point. I'm going to wait till they're like at least like 8th, 9th grade type of 10th grade, maybe. Actually probably a little bit older than that. I'm never in Vegas. I used to be a big gambler back in my younger days, not so much anymore. So I doubt I wouldn't make put it this way, I wouldn't make a trip out there to go see it.
Yeah, I kind of feel like that way. Like if I was out there and I was at a convention or something and people were doing it, I'd go, but it's not something that's going to draw me there. And then a couple of quick Disney hits. Level 99 is going to be replacing the NBA experience at Disney Springs. Or I guess it hasn't officially said it's the NBA experience, but everybody understands that's where it's going to go. I didn't know too much about this company, but they do sort of electronic game type things. So it's sort of escape room, but like every task takes 1 to 4 minutes or something like that. So it's not like you go in one room and you're there for an hour trying to get out. It's like a series of rooms, and each one is like a different electronic-based game or competition where you have to like jump over things or hit buttons or something like that. So it looks pretty fun. It seems like a much better use of the space than the NBA experience. We'll see what pricing is. In other locations, it seems pretty reasonable. Obviously, there'll be the Disney markup on everything.
Sure, of course. You got to pay for that rent.
But if you can draw in some locals to do some things, and I think it's something to do. I think they had sell like 2-hour passes or something like that. So if you're going for a longer stay or maybe, not a Disney exclusive trip, definitely I could see my family doing that. We love escape rooms and stuff like that. So I could definitely see this being something my family would do. Yeah,
I the videos I've seen of things like this, not specifically level 99. It might have been level 99. I don't know what company was doing. But it was like, a teenager in a closed room, it might have been, I don't know, like 20 feet by 30 feet or something else like that. And then like the floor were LED lights of squares, right? And they were 10 inches square or something else like that. And they lit up green, and you had to run across the green ones like a Frogger type of thing, but then they would disappear, and you had to run back and forth or survive for 2 minutes or something else like that. And the good thing about this type of thing, that stuff doesn't get out of date, right? Like, it's not like you have an arcade, but now the arcade's 4 years old and you still have like games from like, forever ago type of thing that you have to constantly update. These are just challenges with lights. As long as it's still functional and it's clean, I think people would enjoy doing this for, extended period of time.
Yep, agree. And then this is another rumor, really take this one with a grain of salt, but I've seen it at a couple places that I guess it's on the docket to replace the tracks at Space Mountain after they redo Big Thunder Mountain. Mm-hmm. Their rumors are ranging from just the tracks need to be replaced because they're old and it needs to be smoother and that sort of thing. But other rumors are that they're really going to gut the inside, take out the 2 tracks that are there and put in just one bigger track that's more like a traditional roller coaster, like from Vekoma, I think, instead of like the mouse kind of coaster. And it would be the sitting 2 people side by side versus the bobsled model. So I don't know. The one thing I found that interesting about this for me thinking about it is we have a lot of like good feelings about Space Mountain. It's one of my daughter's favorite rides and stuff like that. But I kind of feel like my love of the actual ride is a lot of nostalgia.
Yep.
Not that it's actually a great ride.
It's not a great ride.
So I think if I take off my nostalgia hat, I think I'm in favor of this. I'm excited for it, something new and something smoother and that sort of thing. But there is that nostalgic kind of pull that like, we're going to lose something that was a unique experience and something we have good memories of.
I don't think they're going to redo like the whole attraction, right? I think if they do a redo of they're going to have to redo this soon because that track is so darn old, right?
Yeah.
I think the only thing that changes is the inside of the ride itself, right? I think they keep the queue. I think they keep the vibes of the sound.
Yeah, everything is not that they're going to like like what they're doing in Tokyo where they totally demolish the building and rebuilding it. They're not doing that. It would the outside would stay. It would just be kind of the inside would get gutted.
Yeah, I mean, I'm here for a better track. Like I do not like this attraction because I think my head's going to get cut off. We've talked about that all the time, and it's not a comfortable ride. So I think a smoother ride and an updated experience, I think is good for everybody. And I suspect the reason why this rumor is for me is kind of strong. Not that I know anything. I just saw one place with this rumor. It's the the west side of the park with Frontierland just is getting all this new stuff. And then we always talk about the second half of the 10 years of investment into Walt Disney World. And that second half is going to probably have something for every one of the parks at this point. And Epcot just got all this stuff done, so they're going to get this. But Magic Kingdom, where do you think they're going to put more investment? It's going to be in Tomorrowland. It's been in a sorry state for over a decade at this point. You've got, Monsters, Inc. Laugh 4 that's outdated is probably going to go. You've got Stitch's Great Escape that's just been sitting there empty for gosh knows how long. You got the Tomorrowland Terrace that probably used for a lot more stuff other than just, dessert parties. You've got Tomorrowland Speedway, which I bet is going to go if the new Cars Junior attraction is a similar type of experience. And them being able to do this, the Space Mountain renovation is basically is in line with that, right? They might do it first so they can kind of start gearing up for that. And I think that maybe if they do that first, that then they can start taking other stuff down around there and still have a draw for that corner of the park outside of Tron as well. Now, for timing-wise, I don't think they're going to want to close Space Mountain as soon as Thunder Mountain is down, unless they think they can do that and get back up as soon as Villains opens. I think they want the park fully operable once Villains is open for at least a year before they start doing a Tomorrowland renovation, if that was in their plans. So for timing-wise, if maybe because Thunder Mountain seems to be going so quickly, maybe it's going quickly so they can kind of put a Space Mountain on the back end of this and kind of get it done before all the other stuff happens. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my line.
I guess we'll see. Yep. All right. So we're ready to start the trip report.
Is this part 1 of 5, or can we get this all done in a single episode?
So I'm hoping to get through it relatively quick and talking more about sort of strategy and what worked, what didn't, how things compared to expectations and stuff like that, kind of go through highlights. I am doing a detailed trip report on the Discord server, and that in that forum if you want to follow along, where I'll get into more of the numbers and things like that that are maybe a little bit easier to read. I guess, kind of keep this more maybe qualitative and that more quantitative. But yeah, as a reminder, for my trip report, it was my entire family, and we went down, flew down on Tuesday, February 18th, and back on Thursday, February 20th. So we're just down for 2 nights. It was a sort of spur of the moment for me, for Disney, about 3 weeks.
Yeah.
How we booked it. It was just to get away from the cold, and it was to see Muppets one last time before it went away. We flew down on Breeze Airlines out of our local Stewart Airport, which was my son's favorite airline. So he was excited about the whole experience.
Do you think we can get them to sponsor our show?
I know, really, at this point. We did it with the cheapest seats possible, where you don't get a carry-on, you don't get to pick your seats or anything like that. So there was a little bit of anxiety 24 hours before when we checked in to find out where our seats would be. Fortunately, it was set up that we had 3 people together and then 2 people together, so it really wasn't bad. It's kind of like, other than they were rows apart, kind of what we would have picked. We landed right around 3:15. It was kind of funny. Our pilot was like, they're saying due to the weather, we're not going to be able to climb as high as early as we want, which could slow us down. He goes, but Mama didn't raise no quitter. And I'm going to try to get us there as quick as we can. But he's like, but I do have a beautiful family at home, so I will be safe. But we did get in about 20 minutes early, as he apparently found some shortcuts, as he said, which I don't understand how that works in the air, but whatever. Since this was sort of over lunchtime, we did stop to grab some food.
Oh, well, let's pause here. So, what time did you get to the airport? What time was your flight? What time did you land?
Yeah, so the flight was scheduled for 12:37, and it was scheduled to get in at about 3:30, 3:35. So yeah, we got in about 20 minutes earlier. The airport is very small. There's just one security area, and one baggage claim. Yeah, when we landed, this is jumping ahead, but they were like, your baggage will be collected at the one baggage carousel that there is. So we got there about an hour and a half before our flight time. So it was 12:30, kind of right around 11, maybe a little 11:10, something like that. And yeah, we had TSA pre-check, which didn't really help us that much other than not having to take our shoes off. As I mentioned, there was only one security line, and we got held up a little bit because the person in front of us was transporting a ham radio.
Oh.
And all the batteries and everything related to that. And the security people had no idea how to handle that. And they were like, can we open it? What do we do with this? And they were like, so the line was building behind us, but it was fine. The only other thing I'd just super great about this airport is the food is very inexpensive. I got a combo meal that was, it's general basic food, but it was a hot dog, fries, and a 16-ounce draft beer for $10.99 total.
No. You can't even get like a side and a Diet Coke for McDonald's for less than $12 in New York. Come on.
Yeah. So that was kind of the highlight of the stay there. So we had the plane ride. I rode with my son, and he got his little snack pack that he likes to get there, and he was living his best life, looking out the window, put his phone up and was recording the landing and everything like that. So he was good. Once we landed, I went to get the bag while my wife went with the others to grab some food at the Wendy's there just to get something in people's stomachs. I would say we didn't rent a car or anything like that. We were going to rely on ride sharing for this. For the first couple of trips, I compared both Lyft and Uber to kind of see, is one closer, is one more expensive, that sort of thing. Every time I checked it, Lyft seemed to be about 20 to 25% cheaper.
Okay.
At least for the XL, because we had 5 people, so we needed the bigger ones. So after everything, we got in our Lyft at $441, and it was $66 plus tip to get to our hotel.
That's not too bad. I mean, when I was there
XL with us,
when I was there in November, to get to Animal Kingdom Lodge, I think it was like $55. And, that was at I don't know if there's a difference in time at this point, but
we were a little bit in rush hour. We did hit a little bit of traffic because we had to go through Disney property to get to where we are. The hotel was off the western end, out Western Way Drive. There was some traffic there and that sort of thing. So it was fun though to get to go drive through property. So we did get the photo of the welcome to Walt Disney World gates and stuff like that. So that was fun. So we got to our hotel at 5:12. And kind of got checked in and settled in. One thing that was fun was this is, I think I mentioned before, we're staying at a Spring Hill Suites that's seated, fit 6 people in the room, came with the included breakfast and that sort of thing. It's right off Disney property, so they do have some Disney like decorations and stuff. That obviously not a Disney hotel, but one thing that was neat, the elevator we got in, the whole inside of the elevator was wrapped like you were in Smuggler's Run. So it kind of looked like you were inside the Millennium Falcon.
In the elevator itself?
In the actual elevator
cool.
itself, the whole, like, all three sides of it were wrapped like you were in the cockpit of the Millennium Falcon. So I thought that was kind of neat.
That's a nice touch.
Yep. So we got settled, kind of. We didn't even really unpack. I was like, do we want to unpack? I was like, let's just keep everything in the suitcase because it's only 2 nights.
Yep.
A couple of us changed into shorts and that sort of thing. Even though it wasn't super hot for Florida weather, it still felt a lot better than New York. And I was like, I'm putting on shorts, dang it. So then we had plans to go over to the Polynesian. We got another lift to head back.
All right, so
6:12.
what time are we leaving the hotel to get to the Polynesian?
Yeah, so we got in a lift at 6:28.
Okay, so that's not too bad. So you're about maybe like 2.5 hours from landing that you're ready to go out and do your thing. Okay.
And we took it over to Epcot. That lift cost $17, and we got to Epcot at 6:42, and we got a photo in front of the ball and that sort of thing, and got to hear some of the Epcot music. One of the shows was going on, Spaceship Earth and that sort of thing.
You've been revitalized at this point,
yeah,
right?
a little bit. Now it's like getting the Disney feels for real. We got on one of the monorails at 6:55, switched at the TTC to get to the resort line, and we're at the Poly at 7:14.
So I know we were talking about this last week, right? The
Yeah.
last couple of weeks we've been going over your plans and stuff like that. So you went to Epcot first so you can get the monorail ride, right? So you
Yep.
can get the vibes and everything else like that. And I want to talk about first day trips, or what to do on your first day, because you mentioned this in your trip report on Discord. I want to bring that up. So we'll talk about that at the end of the show. So that you must have been at Epcot for what, like 15 minutes or so before you got to get on something
Not
like
even
that?
that. Yeah, I mean, we got to Epcot at 7:42, and we were on the monorail at 7:55. So like 13 minutes or something.
You landed in Orlando. Usually MCO kind of gets you excited about being at Disney because you associate MCO with Disney, right? At what point did it feel like you were at Disney World? Because you're off-site at this point, right? So you're not entering the bubble by going to your resort. So when
Yeah,
did
it was
that
kind of
creep
interesting
in?
because I mentioned we definitely got some of those feels just driving through property and like seeing the changing of the road signs and going onto the signs. So that kind of made it feel like we're at Disney. Obviously, then we saw the See You Real Soon one because we were leaving to go out the back. So it kind of felt like we're at Disney, but not necessarily doing Disney yet. So I definitely think going to Epcot and even just approaching it and seeing Spaceship Earth lit up and stuff like that,
Right.
I think that was when it kind of hit a lot of us that we're like, okay, now the Disney part of the trip is starting.
Okay, so Epcot kind of really cements that. You got some Disney transportation in you after taking Ubers or Lyfts all over the place. So you're now at the TTC. You make a swap to go over to the Polynesian. What happens next?
Yep. So we get out there, and the plan was we wanted to eat dinner at the new Wailulu Bar and Grill that's over at the new Poly Tower. And then either from while we're eating or somewhere around there, watch Happily Ever After from the beach, which was at 8:00 that night. The funny thing was we kept checking on the app, and it kept saying you're too far away to add to the wait list. And when I was checking earlier in the day, it always said it was like a 10-minute wait, blah, blah, blah. Eventually, we were able to put our name on the list, but it was saying like for 5 people, it wouldn't let us do it. So we walked all the way over to the actual restaurant, and they were able to add us to the list, but it was a 2-hour wait.
That's a long time.
Yeah. So I think what I found now, this was President's Week. I'm hearing from a lot of people that are down there is a very busy week.
Today
So
we
it's
are
probably
dining.
a little atypical, but I think also just everybody wants to eat there during the fireworks, and they didn't want to. They're not leaving, because they're waiting till after the fireworks. So what we did was we put our name in. We went over to Tiki Terrace and got some drinks. We were behind somebody who was trying to order 4 drinks, and they wouldn't let her order 4 drinks. You can only get 2 with one ID. So she was like calling up her parents to like, what do you want?
Boy.
It was like this whole big rigor. It wasn't really a big deal, whatever. It was kind of funny to like listen to her. And she's like, what does he want? I don't know what he wants, like that sort of thing. But after they left, we get over there, and my wife orders the Pearl, and she's like, the server is like, oh, since you had to wait a little bit, I think Shelly was a little bit upset, and she got you a Black Pearl. So that was kind of a cool way to start the trip since they're very rare. And so my wife liked that. And then so we had that. We went over and just kind of hung out at the beach in front of the new bar and grill. So not the main Poly Beach. There's kind of just a small little beach area with hammocks and stuff like that right in front of the bar and grill. A lot less people there. So my kids
in front of
that.
the new tower, you're saying,
In
right?
front of the new
Yes,
tower,
okay.
yeah. It was really crowded at the Polynesian. There were like tons of families out there doing like dance parties and stuff like that. So like I said, it was a busy week. So it was kind of hectic over there. So my kids opted to go over here. It was great. We had a great spot of watching the fireworks. There was a speaker maybe 10 feet away from us, sitting there, having our drinks, watching the fireworks. It was kind of funny, though. It hit me that we were talking about last week on the podcast, like, oh, well, maybe, if you're doing a longer trip, like get that extra day ticket and go to the parks that first day. This kind of cemented for me, like, this is why we do what we do on our first day. This was like a perfect evening.
Now you're bringing this up, right? So I guess we could talk about it now. But I had some other questions. Gosh, I have too many questions. Okay, so you got to the Poly. You walked off the TTC. You got off at the Poly from the monorail, correct, right?
Mm-hmm, correct, yeah.
How did you get over to the tower from that? So you kind of go walk through the lobby and then
walk through the lobby downstairs. We kind of walk past the Tiki Terrace, and you have to walk around kind of where the marina is.
Oh, so you're around that way? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and then the tower's like kind of like right there. It's actually not that far of a walk. I didn't know how far it would be. I mean, it takes a little bit to get there, but it's not so. So yeah, so we like I said, we got to the monorail, got there at 7:14. We checked in right at Wailulu at 7:21. So it was a 7-minute walk from off the monorail to the restaurant.
Okay, so Matt's now in the chat and he's yelling at you $120 for an extra day. So let's talk about this because I want to talk about your experience at the new Poly Tower.
Yep.
Apparently the abbreviation on the DVC sites is PIT, P-I-T. It's the Polynesian Island Tower. That's what they're calling it. I saw it for the first time today. I'm like, what is PIT? And then it clicked, right? Okay, so your first day seems like an amazing day. Like you're the type of person, you don't get up early in the day on your first day to flight. You like a midday flight. A lot of people like early. I like the early morning flights, but everybody's different. So you get there, and instead of like dropping everything and racing into the parks and just start sprinting for all that stuff, you like to ease into your vacation.
Yeah.
I am of this opinion as well. I don't like dropping and going, even though I want to say 2 years, December of 22, when we went down, we got there a day early and then stayed in offsite before we went to Caribbean Beach. And the Caribbean Beach, we dropped everything off and went to the Magic Kingdom at that point. So we did do that. But no, I love this as a first day. I'm thinking about see if I could fit this into, our trip on our first day. Because our first day, we're going to do the same thing. Get there a day early, stay off-site, come in, and then take advantage of the water parks.
Yep.
And then maybe do it like an evening. Maybe do water parks until like 3, 4 o'clock or something, and then go over to the Polynesian. I like this idea. But what do you like of just kind of easing in? I want to see if I know what your opinion is, but I want to talk about because maybe it's more refined now. Like, so what do you feel? What do you like about that low key kind of ease into the vacation type of thing?
I think it's less stressful, and it kind of just like I'm an not anxious traveler, but I get anxious about logistics. Like I almost like I put in my head every like way things could go wrong getting there. So once I get there, I don't want to then also be like, oh, then we got to race off and what are we going to do and that sort of thing. So it's like, it's just easier for me to kind of ease into the day. So that's why we tend to do it. And also just, we have historically done shorter trips. So we don't want to spend that much money for another day. I get if we're doing a longer trip, it's not that much more to do that. So you could probably do something similar to what we did where you'd say, okay, not that big of a deal. We go to one of the parks and just don't really have plans, take it easy, kind of the same type of thing. But some way to ease into the trip. I don't want to get up early, go down there and just go, because I feel like by day 3 of our trip, we're completely spent
drained,
and everyone's cranky and stuff like that. So I would say if we're doing a longer trip, I definitely want a night like this in our trip. It usually works out for us to be like arrival day. If we're doing a longer trip and we wanted to get like into the parks on the first day, midweek, I would want to do a day like this.
Oh, I mean, you definitely need to do this. And shout out to Matt, Diz Happenings every day at 6 o'clock in the morning. New episode is dropped. Did not listen to his today. I got a lot of travel in the next 2 days, so I'm catching up tomorrow. Sorry, Matt. I didn't listen today. What I like about the first day, because I'm an anxious traveler too. I'll call it anxious anxiety, right? Because I'm constantly thinking about, okay, we need to get to this place. We need to move here. We need to go here. We need to go. There's a lot of things that I can't control. Traffic, Uber's being late, bags missing, all this other stuff. And then once everything is set, I like to take a break, right? And be like, okay, I'm ready to go. And I don't like the hustle bustle of hopping into the parks. Now, my upcoming trip, we're doing 9 nights, 10 days. It's ridiculous. Yeah. This could probably be the longest Disney vacation that we ever take. I don't ever see us being able to afford 2 weeks or anything longer than that, right? Really. However, I still got tickets for every day that we're there except for our travel days, right? Free entry into the water parks helps quite a bit on that. But even if that wasn't the case, I miss. I talked about this ad nauseum about the last trip in a year and a half ago in December. As we got there, it was cold. It was like 50 degrees. It was raining. My wife was just recovering from pneumonia, and she's like, I'm not going out there in the chill. And me and the kids went out for dinner, and it was just like that kind of got ruined a little bit. I mean, it's the weather. You can't really help the weather. So I kind of missed out on that like opening day kind of like ease into it.
Yeah.
Like you get a little bit of the music, you get a little bit of flavor on there. I could say though, I would almost potentially think about getting an extra ticket for that day, even if it's two things. Go in at like 8 or 9 o'clock or 7, 8 o'clock and just kind of do dinner in a park and go. Like if you're like on the Skyline and like hop into Epcot and grab some food type of thing and just quote unquote waste that ticket. Yeah. But the second thing would be like, can I have discipline and not be like, okay, we got a ticket. We might as well just go in there and go on 2 rides. Okay, now it's 3.
Exactly.
Now it's 4, right? Like
exactly.
I've got to be able there needs to be a limiter. So my natural limiter to everything is my wife. My wife is not like, she loves being on property, but she does not like, go gangbusters. So she enforces the vacation to vacation. So, okay. So you get the vibes. You're not regretting your decision for just the extra. You're not regretting getting tickets for the whole family, regardless of the price of that. You're at Trader Sam's Terrace. You're having your beverages. Your wife is giddy with getting the Black Pearl. Anything else happen before you get called to go into the bar?
So just say we went over and watched Happily Ever After from the beach, like I said.
Right, yep.
We then checked with just say how much longer, and they estimated about a half hour, so just enough time to go get another drink from Tiki Terrace. One thing we did learn was they do have something, at least outside, called the Pearl Refill, so that you don't have to get another actual plastic pearl. It's just the same drink, and it's like makes it like $17 instead of $23. So anyone out there, that's something we weren't aware of that. That wasn't offered to us in the past. That's just a little tip. And then we were called to our dinner at 8:53.
Late dinner.
Yeah.
Was anybody cranky? Like, okay, you're enjoying tasty beverages.
Yeah.
Your wife's enjoying tasty beverages. Are the kids just like enjoying like the beach vibe, watching the fireworks? And
they're just enjoying that, hanging out. I got pictures of my son in the hammock that was there and stuff like that. And like I said, it did help. We did get the food at the airport and stuff like that. Sure. So they were doing okay. And fortunately, we did get seated. And one of the reasons why I think maybe a party of 5 took a little bit longer was we needed to fit in one of the banquettes that they have at the bar and grill that's outside. And it's got the water feature right behind you and stuff like that. So it's just like a really chill kind of vibe to be.
I think everybody wants to sit there because that's like a really cool spot. Like, is it could you get seated inside if you're a party of 4? Is there like seating for that you can actually sit down in, or is it more like low tables, high top type of things inside?
So they have regular tables. I think there's just more options if you're only 4 people or 2 people or something like that. I think they would have had spots for us inside. They did ask if we wanted to sit inside or out, but we said outside.
Okay. So you can sit outside if you want, if you're willing to wait. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so that's what. So we were in those banquettes with the water feature behind it, and as our hostess put it down, she goes, "Oh, and you good timing. The electrical water pageant is just about to start." So yeah, we saw it was the one where it was over by the Contemporary. So we're sitting down, like had our drinks, like looking out over the water and seeing the electrical water pageant go by. So that was pretty nice. And we had a really good server. She kept calling. She's like, okay, family, what do you want? And that sort of thing, and kind of go over it. And so at a high level, we really liked Wailulu Bar and Grill. It's kind of the way we like to eat. The appetizers are all really good. That's what we mostly got. We got the tuna nachos, the wings, we got the ribs, we got the shishito peppers, and then both my son and youngest daughter wanted to get the Wayfinder burger. They did get the sauce on the sides, which I do recommend. There is a bit of kick to the sauce.
Okay.
So if you're aware of that, get it on the side. Otherwise, it was very similar to the Steakhouse 71 burger. It was like 2 smash patty type things. Very good burger. You can get it either with sweet potato fries or macaroni salad. We got one of each. Both were good.
How was the macaroni salad? I've never had macaroni salad at Walt Disney World before.
Yeah, it was actually really tasty. I mean,
Was
you
it?
have
Okay.
to like macaroni. It was a cold macaroni salad and that sort of thing, but it was quite good. I think I preferred it over the fries.
Was it mayo based or was it vinegar based?
Mayo based.
Okay, because that's the kind that my mother makes. So I always compare macaroni salad to what my mom makes. So she makes a really really good. Okay, so that's good. Okay, got it.
And of the food options we got, the burgers are really good. I think actually the standout was the wings, which was not
Interesting.
necessarily what we were expecting, but it had this really tasty sauce on them, and that's definitely something that I would go back for. Like,
I'm imagining like a tangy, pineapple-y type.
Yeah,
of
it was kind
sauce.
of like sort of like that Asian Polynesian type sauce on them. It was really good. The ribs were really good. The only thing that was maybe slightly disappointing was the shishito peppers. Not that they were bad, but we make them at home. We get them at Trader Joe's and just make them in the air fryer and stuff like that. And the ones we make at home, I think, were just as good. I've seen a lot of people raving about them, but I guess there's not a lot of places on Disney property that do that.
I guess, yeah.
So I think it's sort of like not something they have as often as we do. The only other negative I would say is the drinks aren't the best there. I got the banana old fashioned. That was pretty good. My wife got a glass of rosé. She said was fine. But I've heard some mixed things about some of the other drinks. So definitely, if you're going to eat there, get your drink at the Tiki Terrace before you come over.
I think it's just newness that's involved there
Yeah.
with some of that stuff because we were watching over the weekend. We were prepping for our Disney trip, 150 something days out now. But we're doing an experiment with dining and trying to figure out new things to do. And we were watching Ohana Breakfast, right? And at the tail end of that was, another clip of the same woman that was going to the same bar, and she mentioned that the food was good, but the drinks were on the, weaker side, I guess. Well, not weaker in strength, but weaker in taste. I want to give her a shout out to she's got a really great YouTube channel. We just started watching her. It's Right Down Main Street, WRIGHT. She does a fantastic job and new favorite with the family. We've watched a lot of her dining reviews. She's the only one that's doing some of these dining reviews that are actually been done, post COVID. So we were looking at like the Yak and Yeti, like Princess and the Bear did one, but they were kind of abrupt. But then Right Down Main Street did something with an eclectic collection of food, and she did a really good job. So I think the last one that was like Mammoth Club did one like 3 years ago, and then like the Diz had one from like 6 years ago or something else.
Yeah, that's one thing we found. Even when I was looking for reviews of this, like everybody does it right when things open.
They never go back.
They don't revisit. They never go back unless they change the menu or something like that. But
now, if
the only
only
thing
somebody had a blog about Disney food that could keep us up to date on this, but I guess not, right?
Yeah. And then we did get one each of the 3 desserts, so that was one reason we didn't overorder. They have like this brownie sundae type thing with coffee flavors and stuff like that, and banana Fosters. They have a creme brulee with berries, and then they have like a Dole Whip sundae with macerated berries and some other stuff on it too. All 3 were very good. If we had to pick one, it's probably the creme brulee.
Really?
But all 3 were really good, and I think the way we did it was perfect. Like if you go with a family, like obviously you can't do it if you're by yourself, but if you have like 4, 5, 6 people, just get one of each and let everybody try everything, and they were all really good. So overall, we had a great meal there. Yeah, I definitely would go back. Definitely highlight it. If you're not doing it on your arrival day, if you have a down day, or even if you just want to take a break from Magic Kingdom, they don't do reservations, so you can just come over, add your name to the walk-up list, and just have a way better meal than you can get in Magic Kingdom.
I guess if you're going within the next 3 months or so, make sure you get there a little bit early and expect a wait, especially if you want to sit outside.
Yeah, especially if you want to go during firework time. I think that was probably part of the problem. Otherwise, I haven't heard people having issues getting in line.
I also want to make fun of Matt, or not make fun of him, but call him out, because every time he mentions vacation on his show, he assumes that we mean like we're staying at the pool for 8 hours a day in the in the resort, which is not. Again, vacation is finding relaxing things where you don't have to over plan for your time, right? It's a mental vacation. And not worrying about lightning lanes and food and logistics as we do, right? So I think I think that's a great evening. Even if that was, let's say, you had a longer stay, right? And maybe you did like, I don't know, Magic Kingdom in the morning, you did rope drop, you did a bunch of things. You go back to your resort and swim, and then your evening is not back at a park. It's, you're doing this for the evening rather than going back into a park somewhere. And I think that's what I want to do in my upcoming trip. So I'm kind of looking forward to that as well. Trying to find those little kind of, I think that's more memorable than waiting in line all the time in rides every single day, but kind of finding those extra things.
Yeah. So this was a great evening. Like I said, we lifted back to the hotel. We got picked up at 10:48 and back in the hotel at 11:03. So, I mean, that's kind of the same time you're going to take a bus if you're staying on property or something like that. I will say, just for the people that are doing this, at least as of now, Lyft didn't have an option for selecting pickup at the actual pit, Polynesian Island Tower.
Yeah.
We had to go over to the main lobby. I mean, not a big deal, but just as an FYI for people looking at that. So we had to do that.
So you've screwed me up here, Phil, in timing for this whole trip report, because your trip report was only on your day one on Discord, which I read through today to kind of prep for the show. And then I'm like, okay, we're getting towards the end. And I'm looking at our clock, like, oh, this is good timing. And you've got one full day ahead of us that we have to talk about.
I have the main day. This is just the travel day.
All right, so you went back to sleep, and then you wake up the next day. What's going on?
Yeah, do we want to keep trying to get through everything?
I think we're going to do it. I don't want this to be a three-parter here. Now, let's go.
All right. So, so I got up at around 8 o'clock. Everyone else was still sleeping. I went down to get coffee from the lobby. Then we kind of just hung out. This was actually my daughter's 16th birthday. This is her actual day, so we gave her a birthday card and that sort of thing. Kind of all lounged. We went down to get breakfast. One thing we found funny was they had a sign down there with like a stoplight, like red, yellow, green, kind of saying like, come early, green. That's when it's like empty, and like later in the time, because it only goes till 9:30, it's red. That's when it's crowded. It was very crowded. There was like a soccer team there, like a girls' soccer team there, that I don't think that helped. They were very efficient. They have, the Mickey Waffle Station. They had like a separate line for that. They had people refilling things, everything. So it was a solid hotel breakfast. Everybody got stuff, no problem, but it was pretty busy. This day, the plan was to go start off at Disney Springs. Got another lift. We got picked up at 11:10 and arrived at Disney Springs at 11:34. Did some shopping, went to, the Disney store and the co-op and all those sort of kind of usual things. And then we had lunch scheduled at 12:45 at Summer House on the Lake. This was going to be like my daughter's birthday lunch.
So no T-Rex, right?
So we didn't do T-Rex. We showed her some video reviews and stuff, and she could just hear how loud it was and that sort of thing. So she was fairly easy to talk her out of it. She does like Summer House, and this is definitely becoming a family favorite. It's another place where it's the type of food we like. It's another place you can get a bunch of appetizers and share, and it just kind of feels like good food, and everybody liked something there. So my wife and I split like two different things. I think we got the grilled I forget what it was, but it was a couple different things that we split. I got one of the special salads. My youngest daughter got one of the specials, which was like a vodka pizza that everyone agreed was the best thing at the table. Okay. So that was really good. Another great. We decided not to get dessert there. We figure we can get food elsewhere. But otherwise, we each got wife and I got a drink or two. And actually, my wife got a drink. I decided not to have anything there because I knew there'd be stuff coming later in the day. So Summer House on the Lake is turning into another family favorite. Went around, did some more shopping. I got a shirt, and a couple other people did things. We like checking out some of the art stores and looking at the different art. My son got a kick because it was an actual art gallery. He's used to looking at like, here's a poster or a print, but this was like fine art. And he's like, oh my God, look how expensive this is. I'm like, yes, it's the original artwork that somebody did. Like,
this is unreplicated.
Like he didn't like understand that concept. So that was kind of funny. Then we did our plan. We took, we were like, okay, time to leave. So we're going to get on a bus and go over to Caribbean Beach because we were going to stop and have some more food at Banana Cabana before going on to Hollywood Studios. On the way to the bus, it started to rain. That was definitely one concern I had for the day. There was rain prediction in there. It wasn't too bad, but of course the buses we had to get to were like around the thing, and that took a little bit of walk. So we definitely got a little bit of wet. We noticed there was a bus waiting for the Riviera, so we decided to hop on that one rather than waiting for the Caribbean Beach proper. And that worked out well. Got out. It was actually stopped raining by the time we got to the Riviera. So then we're like, we'll just walk around and get to the main part of the Caribbean Beach. Of course, halfway there, it started raining again.
Of course.
But it is what it is. And at least it's, raining in Florida is better than the snow in New York.
Silver lining. That's good.
So we went to Banana Cabana and got the wings that we love there. Although I have to say, after having the wings at Wailulu Bar, they're better than the ones Yeah, so that was but I did enjoy my Banana Cabana drink there better than the.
How many places can you get wings on Disney property?
I don't know. We're trying to hit all of them.
Now, I think this is going to be like your new TikTok channel, right? You just go around rating Disney wings around the world.
Wings of the world.
Yeah, there you go.
Like that. So then we still had a little bit of time to kill, and it was like kind of rainy and a little chilly for Florida and stuff. So we hung out just in the Caribbean Beach lobby just to kind of dry off and chill out and that sort of thing. I did check out the store, and that's where I got this new shirt for those of you watching, which is a Caribbean Beach.
So jealous.
Kind of
this is like my
Hawaiian shirt with the
I don't think I'm allowed to own it
and
because you're the one that has like the massive shirt game. Like I think my thing is just going to be hoodies because I have so many of them, and I'm going to start collecting more Spirit jerseys. I think that'll be my
okay. There you go.
Whatever.
So then we did leave. I wanted to leave a little extra time just to make sure because I was like, is the Skyliner going to shut down because of the rain and that sort of thing? Worked out fine. We left Caribbean Beach at about 6:10. Got on the Skyliner, went through. I have to say, I had the backpack. I knew I had the like water bottles and sunglass cases and stuff like that. I'm like, I know it's going to get set off the security. It did at Disney Springs, whatever. I've never had a more thorough security screening like in my life. While they were dealing with me, the other security stations did I think my wife counted 5 people. I don't know what it was about me. They were very friendly. They were chatting me up. They were having a great time.
By any chance?
I had multiple sunglass cases. I knew that's what it was that was setting it off. But I knew it was multiple things. So I'm like, and we had ponchos on and stuff like that. I'm like, I'm not getting everything out to try to get through.
That gets my wife all the time because she wears like her Cinderella Loungefly backpack when we're on property. She has like a hard sunglass case that she puts it on, and she's got. The first time we go to the park, every time we go down there, she gets caught by security. And by like lunchtime that day, she knows to hold it up and walk through and everything else like that. So that gets her.
But they took every single thing out of my bag, literally. Then they wanded me like 4 times, and like I'm like, okay, guys, like I think I'm fine. But anyway, so we got through. We got our bracelets for the after hours party at 6:37. Normally they're supposed to let you in at 7 p.m. for like the mix-in time. Lined up in front of it. They start saying, everybody raise your hands with your bracelet, blah, blah. They let us in at 6:42. So about almost 20 minutes early. Was kind of drizzling, not too bad, but we went right to Muppet Vision.
Well, let me ask you a question. You got in like 20-ish minutes early, 18, 20 minutes early. Did you, in your research, did they do this normally? Is this like a normal thing?
I think they normally because when we did the Epcot one, I know we got there at about 6:52 or something like that, and they were already letting people in. So I don't know exactly how early, but it's definitely a little early.
Get there early, get some extra time in the park.
Exactly.
Right?
Yep. So we went over to Muppet Vision. There actually was we had to wait to get into the pre-show room, which I haven't had that for Muppet Vision in a bit, but I guess people are trying to make sure they get their last views of Muppet Vision. I did try to document as much as I could. I took some photos of the area, but it was kind of rainy, so I didn't get a million photos, but I tried to hit up all like the little Easter eggs that are in the queue, including the Gonzo that's in the extended outside queue that nobody ever goes because they never use the outside queue, but I wanted to make sure I got that. I showed the kids the hidden key under the mat and like all these sorts of puns that were in the pre-show room, the net full of Jell-O and all those sorts of things. So I was trying to take that in as much as possible. So we were into the pre-show room at 6:52 and into the show at 7:06. So we're doing pretty good.
Okay.
We did the show, as mentioned. Obviously, it was great. We love it. One thing that hit me, though, was I guess I don't know if we all remember how many effects happen in that theater besides the film. Because obviously everyone knows there's like Waldorf and Stadler up there, and then, the one guy comes out, and then the bean is up in the one corner, but they also have the animatronic for the chef in the back, and he's got the cannon that he moves out, and then there's all the effects with making like the holes in the walls, and Sweetums is there a couple times, like the Penguin Orchestra is all animatronics. Like I know Disney's saying we're going to do something to preserve the film, and that's great, but there's a lot in this theater besides that. It's not just like, oh, move it to the Magic Eye Theater and everything's fine. Like
it's purposely
there's going to be definitely a loss. So we enjoyed the show. Everyone loved it. There's a lot of clapping and stuff like that, probably more so because people know it's leaving and they want to show their appreciation for it. So it was great. We did have our reservation for Mama Melrose to check it out. It was a 7:45 reservation. We went there at 7:31. So they did get us in a little bit early, which was good.
Nice.
I glad we checked the box for Mama Melrose, but that can definitely. I'm definitely looking forward to what's new. I will say, and I've heard some of the reviews I was watching was talking about the mozzarella sticks. We got them. They might be the best mozzarella sticks I've ever had in my life.
Ooh, how about that?
And I posted a photo in our Discord of my son pulling testing the cheese.
Yeah, you got the
he
stretch
literally.
going.
He couldn't reach anymore, and it was still going. So it was kind of a great photo.
Okay.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to something new there. But like I said, glad we checked the box. So we were out of that. Checking my notes. At 8:36. So the actual party doesn't start till 9:30. So we're still kind of in the mix-in time. We went to Star Tours. No wait. Just had the next cycle. It was all new scenes to me. It was all
that's cool.
Sequel trilogy and stuff like that. There was one part where you could see the Razor Crest from The Mandalorian was in there and stuff like that. So that was cool to have all new scenes that we hadn't seen before. Lando was the guy talking to us and stuff like that. So that was cool. Then we had to decide, okay, we're off at 8:51. What do we want to do? My daughter, definitely wanted to see Fantasmic. What we decided was I would go with her because she saw it with my wife last summer. So we went to Fantasmic while my wife took the younger two to do some rides.
In your trip report, wasn't that reversed? Your wife was going to go with your daughter to Fantasmic?
So that was the plan beforehand. Was I figured that she would do that because I know my youngest wanted to do Rock and Roller Coaster with me and stuff like that. But we especially because it was her birthday, we said, well, who do you want to go with? And she picked me because she was with my wife last time. So I was like, okay, which I didn't complain. I love Fantasmic and that sort of thing. We walked all the way over. They were already letting people into the theater. One thing we did get worried a little bit was because of the weather, they canceled the first showing. There was going to be there was a show at 8 and then 9:30. But fortunately, the 9:30 one went off without a hitch. I was afraid the first one's canceled. Is the second one going to be super crowded? It wasn't that bad. We got really good seats. We were in there at 9:08 for the 9:30 showing. And we were out of the theater at 10:08. I will say I had my Muppets shirt on, and I think every place we stopped, all the cast members were like, "That's the best shirt," and blah blah blah, and
Nice.
wanted to talk to me about it. And that, so that was good. Really enjoyed Fantasmic. Pretty much all the effects went off without a hitch. And yeah, if there's one show at Disney that I think gets all those Disney feels, it's Fantasmic. I think if there's ever somebody's like, "Oh, I don't get Disney," blah blah blah, it's like show them Fantasmic, and I think they will. They'll kind of get it. So I was messaging my wife okay, we're getting out. Where do you want to meet? We were able to get out the top, kind of where you come in. So it let us out the same way you come in the theater. So right across from Rock and Roller Coaster. So we met up right there. It actually timing worked out really well. Right as we were coming out, they were coming up. Everybody wanted to ride Rock and Roller Coaster except for my son. So we he's 13. He has a phone. We're like, okay. And he's all about the snack stands and stuff like that. So we're like, okay, Go find a snack stand, get yourself some popcorn, and sit down with your phone, whatever. We'll go ride Rock and Roller Coaster.
Now, do you connect your credit card to his Magic Band? Is he able to use that now at this point? Or does he have his own?
Since we're not staying on property, the Magic Band charging doesn't work.
Oh, that's true. That's right, yeah.
So the last time we were there, I gave my oldest daughter charging privileges, but not him. So I'll have to see. But I know even this trip, she loves doing that. She was in the mobile ordering things in the app and oh, I'm going to go pick this up. I'm like, okay. Yeah, you do that.
Okay.
But he just likes to go to the stands that are included with the after hours.
Oh, right. Yes. Okay.
He always jokes. He's like, I'm like, what are you most looking forward to? He's like, I'm looking forward to stealing from Disney. I'm like, it's included. It's not stealing.
You paid a lot of money to be there.
I'm like, but he just wants to. He's like, I want to go up and grab it. It's like it's like I'm stealing it. I'm like, all right, whatever makes you happy. So he did that. So Rock and Roller Coaster was posted as a 15-minute wait. We were in the car after 9 minutes from entering. So it was pretty much just a walkthrough. They didn't do the pre-show or anything like that. We rode it, but the car we were in, the sound was a little off. And in my wife's seat, she said it was really bad. So she just mentioned it to a cast member after all. Hey, by the way, you might want to flag this seat. It doesn't seem like the sound's working. They're like, oh, do you want to ride again? And we're like,
yes,
okay.
Do.
So they just sent it yeah, go through that door. And we're like, okay. So we go through this door. It just looks like a hallway.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, I hope this is the way we're supposed to go. And it let us out right by where you get into the vehicles.
Is that the scaredy cat exit? If you don't want to go on and you're right there? Is that
it
the
might
door?
be, yeah. So maybe we went the back way through the scaredy cat entrance. And then they were like, oh, do you care where you sit? Do you want to sit up front? We're like, sure, we'll take the first row.
There you go.
So we got to sit in row 1 and 2. So yeah, so I said we went in at where do I have it? 10:10, and we were out at 10:38, having done it twice.
Wow, that's pretty good. Now, speaking of Rock and Roller Coaster, I'm trying to get my daughter to do every ride at Disney World. My youngest, my 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And so the two that she hasn't done is Tower of Terror and Rock and Roller Coaster. Last time she was terrified of Tower of Terror and wasn't tall enough for Rock and Roller Coaster.
Yeah.
Now she's obviously tall enough for everything. And in the car, we were traveling yesterday, and I was like, okay, you have to go on Rock and Roller Coaster and Tower of Terror. And she's like, well, I'll go on Rock and Roller Coaster. Like, I don't think going upside down is that bad. I watched some couple of videos on YouTube Kids, and it was just fine. I'm like, oh, okay. It's like, how about Tower of Terror? No, I don't like going straight down. Oh, that's no. I'm like, well, You're definitely going. If your brother went on when he was your age, you have to go on. You have to go on once if you don't want to go again.
Yeah, I did that with Tower of Terror. All the kids have gone on once. Then last trip, I did talk my younger two into going again, and they're like, never again.
Okay,
and my son even said he doesn't mind the upside down. Like he's done, like Velocicoaster and stuff like that. He just doesn't like being in the dark. Is the thing that
so it's not even the motion; it's the ambiance.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's why he doesn't do Space Mountain either. He doesn't like being in the dark. So, so after this, keep in mind it had been raining, so everyone was wet. I was the one who wore my Keen sandals, so I was good to go. My son then was saying he can't go on. His feet were hurting him. He needs socks. And I was like, "You mean the socks that I told you to pack extra socks in the backpack
Not
of?"
prepared.
Yeah, I didn't do that. Okay, so now we're like wasting time to go down and try to find which stores are open and which ones have socks. We're having to ask cast members. We finally found a pair, which is fine. They're like long, high knee socks with Mickey on them and stuff like that. So we eventually found them. So it was fine. But this is definitely the type of thing that I'm like, how many dollars is this costing us? Of like these 10 minutes.
Even as I've gotten softer in my old age at Disney, right? I'm still like, I hate the extra stuff that you have to do to like really prep or like fix a problem that should easily have been solved if you just listened to me several hours ago. Yeah, so I get that.
So then we went up to ride, and I should have mentioned that while my daughter and I were in Fantasmic, my wife and the younger two did Smuggler's Run, Toy Story Mania, and Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. So basically, if you want to do Fantasmic during the after hours, it costs you roughly 3 rides. So that's kind of the trade-off you're doing. We then went up to ride Mickey and Minnie's as a family, got in line at 10:55, posted 5-minute wait. It did do the pre-show the whole time. And the first time I heard the cast member do it, because he's like, in the pre-show when Goofy's like, hey, can you help my friends get into the cartoon and that sort of thing? She goes, yeah. She goes, sure, Goofy, I'll do that. But you're doing the paperwork, which I never heard a cast member say that to Goofy. I was like, all right, I don't know if I want Goofy doing the paperwork, but okay. So we were in a car at 11:03, off at 11:09. Obviously another fun ride that we love to do. And then we went up to do Slinky Dog Dash. This is the only ride that I would say during after hours had much of a line at all. Everything else is pretty much just waiting for the next cycle. It was posted as 35 minutes. We did grab a ice cream sandwich on the way because we figured there'd be a little bit of a wait to have. It took 18 minutes. So that's our longest wait, was 18 minutes. And I have to say, no lightning lane or anything like that. The line's just constantly moving. And it's like, it's really like there's no issue with waiting 18 minutes for Slinky Dog when the line's always moving. On at 11:33, off at 11:36. Another stop for ice cream as we went into Galaxy's Edge. We did Rise of the Resistance. It was posted as a 15-minute wait, but it was basically like we just had to wait for the next pre-show room to be free. Just the queue is long, and it just took a little while to walk the queue. It brought back memories of like the first couple times we were riding it. And you're in those caves for like hours waiting for everything, and now we're just like walking through it, no problem. Pretty much everything, all the animatronics worked. The only effect that didn't work was the lightsaber through the ceiling. Effect didn't work, which is a great one, but at least all the Kylo Rens were working and stuff like that. So really, obviously the cannons were.
I was just going to say they mysteriously.
No, I was hoping. I was like, are they going to surprise us and it'll be working? But no, they weren't working. So I always explained to the kids that they're working on this one. And then we went up to do Smuggler's Run as a family. And we did better this time. We got 2 things of coaxium and that sort of thing. And the Hondo animatronic was working and everything like that. So it was a good trip. Did explain to the kids that they are preparing a new mission for this. So I think they're excited for that one. It is a funny one though, because I know everyone hates being engineers. Multiple people in my family, like that's their favorite role.
Okay.
They just, I guess, get anxious with other things or just feel like they're just pushing the button for firing and stuff like that. So they like having the different buttons to push and feeling taken in. We were off Smuggler's Run at 12:29. The event ends at 12:30. I would say, obviously, if we didn't have to buy socks, if I had hustled people a little bit more, we probably could have gotten at least one more ride in, maybe 2. But in the end of the day, for including like when we got there, including Muppet Vision, I got in 8 rides plus Fantasmic plus Mama Melrose. So, and the longest wait was 18 minutes.
And
so,
what was the per person price for the ticket?
So we got it through Undercover Tourist. It was $167.
Okay.
A single day park, if we wanted to just go to the day, because it was a more higher crowded time, was $185. So it was actually cheaper.
For Hollywood Studios or Magic Kingdom?
For Hollywood Studios.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So it was actually cheaper to do the party.
So let me ask you this. So obviously, the more you go, the cheaper it gets. But if they have these events at all the parks, would you? We've talked about this before. Would you do one for each park, and that'd be your 4 park, even though you're paying more? Is that something that you would seriously consider doing?
Yeah. So and they obviously don't have them at Animal Kingdom, but they have them for the other 3 parks and that sort of thing. I think there's a lot of value to them. My family really likes them. They like just being able to walk up. Yeah. It's so low stress. You don't have to worry about lightning lanes and return times or anything like that. Like I said, 18-minute was the longest wait we had. We like getting the snacks, especially in the summer. It's nice because it's cooler at night and that sort of thing. You still can do the evening shows if you want to do them. I think there's a lot of value to them. Obviously, if you're going for a longer trip, this is a big added expense because if you're already buying, like for going, you're already doing your 8-day, 9-day ticket, like to add on this is a lot. So I did put together a number of pros and cons and kind of for who I think, like what scenarios do these make sense. Okay. So for price, I definitely think it depends on how long park tickets you're getting. If you're like this was our only ticket, so it obviously made sense. But if you're only going down for a couple days and this is going to be one of the tickets you get, I think pricing wise, it kind of works out about the same as a day. But if you're going 6, 7, 8 days,
I think the breaking point's right around 4-ish days when the party gets significantly more expensive.
Right. So if you're more than that, it probably just makes more sense to add on an extra day than to do, go from 6 days to 7 days than to do a party. But for shorter trips, or if you're doing like a more general Orlando trip and not Disney focused, I think they make a lot of sense to do this. Like if you're going to be down there for a week or 2 and 2 of these happen to work out, do this along with doing Universal and doing other things. But if you're doing like we're doing Disney for a week, probably doesn't make as much sense to add these on.
Well, now there's also rumors that they want to start doing this in the morning again because they used to do early morning hour events.
Yeah, early morning magic or something like all that. Yeah.
Assuming that your family could get up early enough for it, would you want to do something that's maybe half the cost of the tickets because it's only like 2 hours before opening?
Yeah, with those though, you have to have a regular day ticket as well. It's just kind of giving you extra time in the morning, and then let's just say
they have like a ticket event in the morning where you can go.
That's just for the morning.
Yep.
Yeah. I don't know. I'd have to think about it because we did it.
3 tickets a day, I think. Right?
We did it for the Fantasyland one, and it worked out really well because we got multiple rides on Mine Train and stuff like that. But you do have to get up early for sure.
No one likes that.
The other thing is obviously wait times. You can't beat it. I think it's even less than like lightning lane lines are going to be. Obviously, you only get 3 hours for the event, 5.5 if you include the mix-in time. So you do have to make some decisions about what you're going to do versus if you have the whole day. If you want to do Fantasmic, that's going to eat in. You're not going to be able to do everything else. The other thing is it's really just the rides that are open, no shows. So if you wanted to do the Frozen sing-along, if you want to do Indiana Jones and stuff like that, you can't do that if you're doing the after hours. That's only available during the day. They do have some character meets, but it's different than the ones during the day, so that kind of depends too. Food, obviously it's great that you get these included snacks. Then you can get ice cream and sodas and blah, blah, blah. But there's very little like real food. So if you enjoy having like a meal in the park, it's obviously a little bit harder to do that. And then obviously we like going in the evening, especially in the summer, you can beat the heat. But if your family is more early risers, this might be tough for you, right? I did mention we got picked up right at 1 a.m. and we're back at the hotel at like 1:10 or something like that. So that's a late night. Not everybody with kids is going to want to be out until 1 a.m. and that sort of thing. So you kind of have to factor that in. So I think they're really good for if you're doing shorter or non-Disney specific trips where your focus is on attractions and you're okay with and you like later nights. I think that they're less good for people that are doing longer Disney focused trips where doing shows and dining is important to you. And if you're a rope dropper family, you can take advantage of that versus this. So, I don't think they're like, oh, they're good or they're bad. They're great. I think if you fit into like what they're good at, it's great. It's a great value. I think, just the ease of it make things a lot easier. But if you're doing that big, long Disney trip, I think it's probably tough to add it in as an extra. To me, it's more of a instead of versus an extra.
Yeah, we did that our last family trip down in December where we did the Very Merry Christmas Party, and that's a hefty ticket. But I wanted to really like knock that one off the bucket list, and that's why we kind of spurged for it. And I would kind of view this similarly. Like if this was something that we were doing a shorter trip like you guys, I think it's a great value. So. Anything else you want to add? Anything major? On the
just to really wrap up. Yeah, the next day, kind of similar morning where I got up, got coffee and stuff like that. We brought more food back to the room. I did go swimming with my youngest for about maybe 45 minutes or something like that. It was pretty chilly. We were the only people there, but the hot tub felt pretty nice.
Nice.
We went over to MCO we got picked up by Lyft at 12:07, at MCO at 12:46. One little thing that we wanted to get food before we kind of got through security or before we got on the plane. We found this place called McCoy's, which is actually in the Hyatt Hotel that's in the airport.
Okay.
And it was really good. And it was like pretty chill, no problem getting a table for us. It looks out over the runway so you can see planes going by. Had a good drink list. Same thing. We got a lot of appetizers and stuff like that. And it was fairly reasonably priced. So if you're looking for like not fast food, like you want to kind of sit down and have something, I definitely recommend McCoy's over in the Hyatt Hotel.
Okay, because I was going to say, like, if, let's say money wasn't kind of a limiting factor, right? You didn't want to spend a lot of money on this. Would, like, Topolino's breakfast or something, like, be something that you would want to try to squeeze in your last day and something like this?
I thought about it, doing that or just some other brunch or something like that. Money was definitely a factor.
Sure.
And I think also just transport, because there's another stop, like, so we'd have to take like a lift over to there, then have all our bags with us or check them or something. Like, it was just like the logistics got to be a little bit much. Now, if we were staying on Disney property, I think that would have come more into play, but with our setup, it didn't work. Speaking of lifts, I did want to mention, because Wheezy had thrown out the idea there of like, would it make more sense to rent a car? And I was saying, well, we have to do that, and then we'd have to pay for parking. We had kind of the complicating logistics of like wanting to go to Disney Springs and then ending at Hollywood Studios, including tips. We spent a total of $222.02 on lifts throughout the whole time. So including to and from MCO and stuff like that. So I think it probably worked about the same as maybe the cost of a car, but it had obviously the ease of not having to worry about parking.
Are you factoring the parking at the hotel also?
Yeah, the hotel was $10 a day, so that's only another $20. So I don't know. I mean, I guess it depends what deal we could get on the rental or something like that.
The rental itself could be $200.
Yes, but it's probably about in the ballpark, but just to give an idea of like how much we spent on that.
Before we get to construction, shout out to Jen in chat who said our kids can all eat $100 worth of ice cream.
Yeah, my son he's big talk. I mean, he definitely had, I think we each had like 3 or 4 ice creams and a couple waters and popcorn and stuff like that. We probably could have done a better job there, but still.
Look, you're not there to eat regular just Mickey bars all day. You're there to have fun, right?
Exactly. Yep. So that's our trip.
Sounds like a great trip, and we got the trip report all done in one show. I really want to get to construction updates, Phil, because I think if we fall behind and push this off, it's just going to toppling on this other. So I'll try to do this quick, even though we're at about coming up on an hour and a half. The major announcement this week was that the Villains Land Permit or Cars Land Permit was approved by the Water Management District in down there in Orlando. And this essentially allows Disney to start bulldozing land. This is where the laydown yards, 3 laydown yards. This is draining the water from Rivers of America, grading it. This is also doing all of the other water management areas even farther west of the laydown lands, and kind of making sure all the water is displaced properly. This is the primary thing to happen before construction can begin. So now there's nothing holding Disney back for getting the bulldozers in. A couple other updates that were happening at that time, where I'm going to scroll down to my notes here. Magic Kingdom, they started adding more trailers in the Imagineering offices down there that are for this construction stuff. So now they're ready to go. That's the STOL, short takeoff and landing airfield.
Yep.
So that's going on. And a couple weeks ago, I think it was a couple weeks ago, we were talking about that construction bid that went out there for 14 acres of land. And I put stuff out on social media. You were kind of talking about it, where you're kind of drawing like the whole Rivers of America, and then kind of like the area behind Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
Actually, the 14 acres of land was called out in the this permit, and it's basically all the water, little bit of the land that surrounds it, and a little bit of like a hook of the river going like behind Big Thunder Mountain.
Yeah,
right? That's exactly 14 acres. There's an area to like the northeast of the river, still inside the berm, that has a separate area. So if it kind of goes back there, the land itself could be up to like, I think it's like 20-ish acres or so. Which would be quite large. Okay. It's like that's two different lands essentially, or two different Toy Story lands almost. Give or take a couple acres. So I wanted to point that out. I have a post at WDW Magic, the forums from last week, if you want to really dig it out. Ask me on social media or Discord, I'll link it. I linked it in Discord actually also. So I thought that was kind of worth like talking about. And then another thing I discovered digging into the permits, which anybody could have done months ago when these were first put up for approvals, was that so there's 3 laydown yards. There's one that's basically directly up against the train tracks northwest of the rivers. There's a triangular one just behind that, and then there's a big long one that kind of goes behind all of like Jungle Cruise and everything else like that. The 2 upper ones are actually, they're going to bulldoze all the vegetation and fill it in with sand and gravel, right? So that's going to be actual that. The other one is going to be bulldozed, but vegetation is going to stay on the ground. So like that's like grass, weeds, whatever. So they're going to take down the trees. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know what that means, but there's a clear delineation between what these are going to be used for. And mostly what it's probably going to show off is that as monorail goes by, it's still going to be green. It's not going to be just like a dirt pit, where the ones behind it that are farther away are going to be the dirt pits. So I guess maybe that might have something to do with it as well. So that I thought that was rather interesting. I can't wait for things to start working. So other updates in Magic Kingdom. There's a lot of interesting things that are just kind of being fixed, and I think this is what we were expecting during the 50th.
You pointed this out that, and I remember that now, that they said they were going to have like 50 improvements or 50 things done to various attractions at Walt Disney World, and a lot of these seem like things that could have been part of that 50, but they're only getting to them now.
Yeah. So there's a Pepper's Ghost effect and an Earth projection in the queue in Space Mountain. This was noticed actually early in February, but I just kind of found out somebody posting that just recently. Buzz Lightyear Space Ranger Spin. Buzz Lightyear has new digital projectors installed. We knew about that last year, but it just kind of happened overnight. The animatronic dog Nipper in Space Mountain is moving again, so I thought that was pretty cool. The ice skaters working again in Small World, so I thought that was really interesting too, kind of cool. And Magic Kingdom in general, you got the Scrimzer back at the plaza and the train station out in the front. Haunted Mansion, there's a permit for work at the Haunted Mansion. No one knows what exactly that's for, but they're going to do something yet again at the Haunted Mansion since it's never ending. There's
rumors it might be to change over to the Bride that they have at Disneyland, but we'll find out.
Yep, so we don't really know anything. At Animal Kingdom, the Mickey Minnie's meet and greet is going down for a couple days, so they're kind of tweaking things out there. In Tropical America, the Dinorama demo the Fossil Fun games. I cannot say that quickly at all. More demo, Triceratops Spin. I think there's a little bit more demo for the queue area. In that
I think the queue area is down, and about half of the ride vehicles have been removed.
You can almost you can see clearly through it with your camera. No updates at Epcot. And the only thing at Hollywood Studios is Woody's Lunchbox. There's more shade structures have gone up, and they're actually putting in the shade sections.
Covering thing, yeah.
I don't know how long this is going to take. This is probably the longest one.
It's really ridiculous how long this one is taken for something that should have been there from the start, but it'll be nice when it's done.
It looks nice. It looks nice. So those are the construction updates. I mean, I could have spent maybe a whole 30 minutes at least on this villains permitting stuff. I find it very interesting, but it's kind of redundant because we've talked about it already. I think what we need to be looking out for is the laydown yards start being bulldozed, Big Thunder Mountain being accelerated, because I think they might want to get all the track in there so they can move that crane out of the way if they're going to bring other heavy equipment through there. Yeah. I don't know if that interferes or not. That's just like, what's the reason why this is going so much faster than we thought it was going to be, right? So I'm kind of piece those things together. So yeah, that's a lot of construction. I think as they kind of ramp up, there might not be much out there other than Animal Kingdom updates where we start talking about this got torn down, this got torn down. Phil, if you had to make a prediction when the large, Brontosaurus on the entrance there, the cement, when does that come down, you think?
Ooh. I don't know. That's a good question. That's a good for before and after, maybe for Matt's show.
Listening? That should be for him. Right
I will say May 1st.
Ooh, I think that's early. I think it's later than that. But okay, here's another question: when they do take it down, is it going to be all at once, or are we going to have like a headless dino for a little bit? I don't. What do you think?
I think it's like concrete. I don't think it's something you can just totally take down. I think they'll try to get it down as quick as possible, but I'm sure there'll be some photographs of the headless dino.
I mean, I think they start early in the day and they just do like two 12-hour shifts or something else like that.
Yeah, I think it might take a day or two or something like that. I mean, I think they'll try to get it down as quick as possible, but it will have to be in pieces.
Yes. So that's some construction updates. What I want to get to also, as I want to finish, because I like next week's DBC engagement question. So let's do quickly, Phil. Last week's DBC question is, what does your ideal dark ride for villains look like? And this was kind of like a simple one, right? We weren't asking people to Imagineer it or anything else like that. We'll start with you, Phil. What is your ideal dark ride?
So I definitely want something that's involving a lot of the villains, and I think I want something that is where like the villains are plotting together, and part of it is like, and maybe you've snuck up on them and they're like, oh no, somebody's finding out our plan or something like that, and each of the villains is trying to like deal with you and catch you and that sort of thing, but they're each sort of competing against each other, so obviously they mess up when somebody tries to do something, and it kind of takes you through the different worlds of those villains or something like that, somehow to make it like, so it's not just set in the castle like Maleficent's castle or something like that. It actually kind of like so there's different scenery and stuff like that. I don't know, somehow to make it so that...
I think you just described Remy's, because he just chases you through different parts of the restaurant, right? So
something like that, but like different like villain scenes and that sort of thing. And like somehow, normally with these rides, it's like something goes wrong. In this case, I think it's just that the villains are like sort of competing against each other and like, you're doing it wrong, idiot. Like, let me show you how it's done. And like that kind of like, they kind of mess each other up. That's one thing I'd like to do. The other thing, which I just thought I'd mention, it's not for the dark ride, but people are saying, is the train going to go through Villains Land? Ooh. And one thing that I think would be neat would be if they have a scene that you can only see from the train, that's sort of like the villains like headquarters or something like that. And you can see a lot of like Easter eggs on the wall of like how they're trying to hatch out their plans and stuff like that, but you can only see it from the train. So I think that'd kind of be like, it'd go along with the dark ride, but it would be like a little extra Easter egg that you can only get from riding the train.
So my idea is, I'm kind of like all over the place. I definitely don't want a book report ride of like just the story of one particular villain.
Yeah, I don't think that fits in this land. Like it's not for a particular villain or a particular hero, right?
No, but the one way which would be interesting, and this would be very different. I don't even know if they could pull this off or if it's possible, but it would be interesting if they could have enough decent projector technology, right? Because there was a permit or a patent that just came out where they project in front of the vehicle in front of you to kind of camouflage it. I have no idea if it's for this project or it's just like we have now a patent on it, no one can use it, type of thing. Do you think it would be possible for them with advanced projector technology to that every time you go through the ride, it's a different story?
Oh.
Right? So I'm thinking like you take Star Tours, right? You have a new routine every single time. But take that technology with a trackless ride vehicle and projector technology that as you go through this building, Like one day it is a story of just, Gaston, right? Maybe you're going through him fighting the Beast or something else like that. It's a book report. And then the next time you ride through, you're watching Peter Pan and Captain Hook fight type of thing. Or pick your villain, that sort of thing. And then it changes. That'd be very difficult because you just don't want just screens, right? You just don't want like flat, whatever. So I don't know if that's possible to pull off and be like unique. I wouldn't put it past Disney to figure out how to do that. That might be interesting. But that's one thought process. That's kind of dreaming right there. In reality, I don't know if I would want to go in and have the villains chase you and you like directly interact with them. I'd like to be an observer and just watch a story being told and being like surrounded by it, but not being the focus of the story. So it might be the villains are plotting to do a thing, and then they do a thing, and then maybe they win or the heroes win or something else like that. But you're watching it as it goes through. I think there's plenty of rides. We are the main focus, like Remy or Rise or Falcon or any of the newer ones. But I kind of like the idea of being like just a passive observer of a story, kind of like Pirates or something else like that. I mean, those typically work. It's been a while since we had an attraction kind of like that. So that would be my idea. Some of the folks inside the community, TL Madden had he wasn't sure, but maybe some great movie ride where some villains land. There's a hero's journey behind the scenes, but essentially it's kind of you're seeing another point of view of some of the villain stories that we already know. So like kind of like the movie that they have over in the French Pavilion. I forget the name of it, but it's like the
the Beauty and the Beast one, but it's like from Lumiere's point of view or something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So Mom of 6 had a very long post. Maybe we could talk about this as a segment later on, but it was pretty cool. So for the attraction stuff, it says, assuming it's a dark ride, it needs to be a little bit more family-friendly, not so much spooky. Again, she's picturing something like Remy's, where you're scuttling through the forest, so you're kind of, interacting it and running it through. Lighthearted moments. But again, I think, there's a happy ending. I don't know if you can have a happy ending in a villain's land at this point. I think it has to be like you narrowly escape in the villains, if we're going to do something like that. I don't think you can get out of that ride feeling like you've won and then just enter villains land.
Yeah, that's what, right? I mean, that's kind of what I was trying to get at with him, where it's more the villains competing and that's why you're able to escape. But it definitely shouldn't be like at the end you've defeated the villains or anything like that. It's just like you said, you're able to get away.
And Mom of 6 also had a bonus question for us, Phil. It says, do you think any of the heroes will appear in the villains ride or in the land at all?
See, I don't think so. I think the idea is this is just the villains, yeah.
Because I don't think. See, what I'm worried about is the tame down. Is that a phrase? Make the land more tame, where they're like the heroes are the focus. Because anytime you add in the heroes, they become the focus of the story, right? And or if they are there, they're a foil for the villains, and it makes the villains weaker, right?
Yeah,
because that's what heroes do. So I think the villains' land needs to be spookier or menacing. Maybe not scary, but menacing, right? You got to feel the weight of the villains.
Maybe they could do some like Easter egg type things. Like I'm trying to think of like who's a hero that's a little more on the sneaky side, like maybe Flynn Rider or something like that. Like there's evidence that he snuck in to try to figure out what they're doing or something like that. Like just little Easter egg things. But I think it's going to be it shouldn't really be like the heroes are really present in it now.
Weezy didn't have any good ideas other than he just want ride based on one villain and really loved TL Mannon's idea. So he just gave him actually gold stars. Our friend Top Server, who was on the show not too long ago, wanted to see lots of villains, and they want to make it funny, like Wreck-It Ralph princess scene. He wants Darth Vader. He wants Thanos. He wants with Hades and hanging out with Hades and Maleficent. I'd like that idea, but I don't like that idea for this dark ride. Right? I think that might be cool if they do like a villain show at some point or something else like that. I would love to see it in a movie. That'd be kind of cool. I really like that scene in Wreck-It Ralph, but I don't think that'd be. I think that's too lighthearted for this show, where it's more of a comedy than like kind of making you worried. But that's it. We want to appreciate everybody for participating in this week's DBC engagement.
Yeah, I did have that question, though. It's just like larger. Do you think the Villains Land will include things like Star Wars and Marvel and stuff like that? Or is it just going to be like classic Disney villains?
I think it's Disney Animation Studios only at this point.
Yeah.
I can't picture any Pixar villains. I think they're going to save a lot of that for Hollywood Studios type of attractions. Because I am almost feeling that they're going to have Incredibles over at Hollywood Studios at some point. They're going to have Monsters, Inc. over there. They have Star Wars. They have Toy Story. But there's no place for classic Disney villains. So I think that's going to be kind of the focus on that.
Yep, I agree.
All right, so next week's DBC engagement question is from TL Man, and he had a great idea. It says, when was your golden age for visiting Disney? Best bang for your buck, your best time for what your kids were into. There's a lot of different ways you can label golden age, right? I don't particularly have a golden age other than as a parent, so that's going to be my answer, is talking about when was the sweet spot for my kids and our Disney or our adult Disney fandom, which is now we're at almost 11 years at this point. In a couple of weeks, our podcast is almost 5 years old at this point.
Yeah.
Too, Phil. We're going to have a show about that. But I think, what is your golden age? So when you think about Disney, what was like the best time to go? Whether it was as a child or then you had a second golden age as a parent or a grandparent, or as a solo traveler, or just you have a significant other that you go with and you're able to kind of do it the way you wanted to do it because now you can afford it on your own, that sort of thing. It could be for any of those things. But I always like hearing about like the best times for people, right? It's like we all get to dive into your nostalgia pool and have a little taste of it also, because we're all nostalgia lovers on as Disney fans. So I'm looking forward to seeing that. All right, Phil, before we get out of here and end this very long broadcast, did I forget anything that's worth mentioning?
I think you're good. Yeah, just a reminder of our social media accounts. We are at the DBC Pod everywhere. And like I mentioned on our join the Discord. I'm doing my trip report there, and I think some other people will be doing some as well. We had a few other people doing Disney trips recently. So, keep sharing the pictures and stuff.
There's a lot of cruise action going on in Discord. That's never been the case before. So that's
our friend Mike, who's been on the podcast, just came back, and then I know a few other people. Heard a Maniac always is planning cruises, and some other people are planning some cruise. And so more, I guess, info about the Disney Treasure came out, or another review or something. So there definitely was some activity in the cruise channel for sure.
Yep. So anyway, thank you for watching, listening. Make sure you like and subscribe to all that fun stuff. Scroll down a little bit, leave a comment if you could. We always appreciate you watching, listening, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone.